often find myself lost in these quiet evenings, gazing up at the starry canopy, feeling the weight of questions that have haunted thinkers for millennia. What drives us to seek the first breath of the universe, that elusive moment when everything that exists emerged from what? It's as if the night sky itself whispers these riddles, pulling me into a contemplation of origins and wanderings. Tonight, my thoughts drift to the paths of exo-comets, those enigmatic visitors from other star systems that slip into our own like uninvited guests at a cosmic gathering. Why do they come? What do their journeys tell us about the fates we thought were fixed, the destinies we imagined as solitary threads in the grand tapestry? As I sit here, the cool air brushing my skin, I feel the pull of these mysteries urging me to unravel them, not with instruments or data, but with the quiet persistence of the human mind, seeking patterns in the chaos of the stars. Let me begin by painting a picture of these travelers, allowing the image to unfold slowly in my thoughts, as if emerging from the mist of a dream. Imagine a comet, born in the distant cradle of another sun, its core a frozen archive of that foreign world's chemistry, ices laced with silicates, organics whispering of atmospheres long dissipated. This wanderer, perhaps ejected eons ago during a stellar tantrum or a gravitational nudge from a passing giant, hurtles through the vast emptiness between stars at speeds that defy our earthly intuitions. It's not just a chunk of ice and rock. It's a messenger from realms we can scarcely fathom, carrying secrets etched in its frozen heart, isotopes that differ from our own, trajectories that arc from directions no local body could impart. When astronomers spot one, through the wobble it imparts on a distant exoplanet or the faint glow of its tail as it warms in our sun's embrace, it's a jolt, a reminder that our little corner of space isn't the sealed garden we once believed. These exo-comets, rare and fleeting, challenge the boundaries we've drawn around our system, suggesting that the solar neighborhood is more like a bustling crossroads open to transients from afar. Why do they visit? Is it mere chance, a random deflection in the cosmic winds, or something deeper, a pull toward connection in an otherwise indifferent void? I think about this often, turning it over like a smooth stone in my hand, feeling its weight. In the quiet, it seems to me that chance alone doesn't suffice. There's a poetry to their arrivals, a suggestion that the universe conspires for encounters. Consider the vastness, light years of nothing, yet here one comes, brushing past Jupiter or looping near the Oort cloud, leaving astronomers to puzzle over its hyperbolic path. Perhaps it's the gravitational architecture of the galaxy itself, with its spiral arms funneling debris, or the subtle tugs of dark matter halos that guide these exiles. But philosophically, I can't shake the sense that they arrive to disrupt our complacency, to show that isolation is an illusion we've crafted for comfort. Our fates, personal and collective, mirror this. We build walls around our lives, assuming predictability, only for an unexpected visitor, a chance meeting, a sudden loss, to veer us into uncharted territories, enriching the story even as it unsettles. As I ponder this, I can't help but draw a parallel to Plato's cave, that ancient allegory where shadows on the wall masquerade as reality, and the prisoners, chained in ignorance, mistake flickering illusions for the full truth. We've been staring at the flickering lights of our own stars, our telescopes capturing the dance of planets in neat ellipses, mistaking them for the whole story. But these exo-comets are like prisoners breaking free, dragging back tales from the outside world, realms of different metallic abundances, perhaps hinting at biosignatures we'll never confirm. They suggest that our solar system is porous, open to influences from afar, much like how our minds are shaped by encounters with the unfamiliar. A book from another culture, a conversation with a stranger that shifts your worldview. What if these visitors aren't accidents but harbingers of unexpected changes in fate? In a universe where paths intersect without warning, our carefully plotted lives, personal destinies woven from choices, regrets, and aspirations, might suddenly veer off course, enriched or upended by the unforeseen. Does this terrify or exhilarate? To me, it's the latter. It infuses existence with vitality, reminding us that destiny is fluid, responsive to the cosmos's gentle prods. Diving deeper into the origins, I think about the idea of a singular beginning, that mythical point where everything compressed into an infinitesimal seed before bursting forth in a symphony of expansion. Picture it not as a cold, abstract origin, but as a profound silence breaking into song, a unity shattering into multiplicity, the fabric of space-time unfurling like a banner in the wind. These exo-comets echo that motif, fragments from other beginnings, wandering into ours, blurring the lines between separate creations. Why would the universe allow such crossings? Perhaps to remind us that isolation is an illusion, that every path is interconnected, every comet's arc a thread in a larger weave. This leads me to reflect on the bounce, that rhythmic pulse where endings loop back into new starts, like a spring compressed in the heart of contraction, uncoiling with renewed vigor. If the cosmos rebounds from its own collapses, cycling through phases of expansion and gathering, then why shouldn't fates do the same? An exocomet entering our system might symbolize such a rebound, a jolt that reshapes trajectories, turning what seemed like a straight line into a spiral of possibilities, where loss rebounds as discovery, solitude as communion. But let's make this more vivid, more human, to bridge the cosmic gulf with the warmth of our shared experience. Envision yourself as a wanderer in an endless forest, ancient trees towering like forgotten stars, their branches interlacing to form a canopy that filters the light into dappled patterns on the ground. You thought your route was set, mapped by the stars visible only from your clearing, familiar paths worn by habit leading to expected destinations. But then a stranger appears, their footsteps soft on the moss, carrying tales of far-off groves with rivers that sing different songs, fruits that taste of unfamiliar soils. This encounter alters your sense of home. Suddenly the forest feels alive with potential, paths merging where you saw only divergence. That's the essence of these exocomets. They arrive unbidden, stirring the pot of our cosmic stew, their presence a catalyst for reflection. In personal terms, it's akin to those moments when life introduces an exo-element, a love from another world, a career shift born of crisis that perturbs the orbit of your days, leading to growth you couldn't have foreseen. Ethically, this raises questions about our place in the multiverse, a realm where such wanderings are the norm rather than the exception. If we're not alone in our bubble of existence, if other systems send their emissaries, crossing the voids between, does that impose a responsibility on us? The anthropic principle whispers that the universe is tuned for observers like us, conditions just right for life to ponder its own existence. But what if it's also tuned for exchange? Our fates, intertwined with these visitors, demand we respond with curiosity rather than fear, fostering a stewardship that honors the unexpected. Imagine the moral imperative. As we detect these comets, do we hoard the knowledge or share it, building bridges of understanding across the stars? In a multiverse of bubbles and rebounds, humanity's role might be that of the welcoming host, recognizing that every intrusion enriches the collective narrative, turning individual destinies into a symphony of shared evolution. Reflecting further, I see echoes of Nietzsche's eternal return in this cosmic drama. What if every comet's path, every fateful intrusion, is a test? Could you embrace this loop, this recurrence of the strange, forever? Would you say yes to the wanderer at your door time and again, knowing it upends your comfort? The idea doesn't terrify me, it invigorates, like a cool breeze on a stagnant day. These exo-comets suggest that change isn't chaos but choreography, a dance where partners from afar step in, altering the rhythm without destroying the music. Why do they come? Maybe to teach us resilience, to show that destiny isn't a rigid script but a living story, open to revisions from the stars. In the quiet evenings as I trace constellations with my eyes, I feel a deep gratitude for these visitors. They remind me that our lives, too, are arcs through the void, punctuated by encounters that redefine everything. Yet this is only the beginning. The wanderings hint at deeper rhythms, cycles, where the universe itself pulses with renewal, inviting us to consider how such visitors fit into the eternal dance of creation and return. As my mind lingers on these intrusions, I feel a warmth in the mystery, a gentle pull toward deeper waters, where the fabric of time bends and the void reveals its hidden springs. To expand on this sense of interconnection, let's linger a moment longer on the personal scale. For philosophy thrives when it touches the heart. Consider how an exo-comet's path mirrors the unpredictability of human bonds. You set out on what you believe is a solitary journey, only for another's gravity to draw you in, creating a temporary binary, a shared orbit that lasts until the pull weakens and paths diverge. But the influence lingers, the composition of your ice, forever altered by the encounter. Ethically, in a world of such fluidities, we must cultivate openness, rejecting the fortress mentality that sees the other as threat. The anthropic principle in this light becomes a call to ethical attunement. We're here because the universe allows for such meetings, so why not honor them with empathy, extending our moral circle to encompass the cosmic wanderers? I think about the implications for fate's unexpected changes, how a single visitor can cascade into transformations. A comet's passage might inspire a generation of scientists, leading to technologies that bind humanity closer or, poetically, to art that captures the soul's longing for the stars. Why do they come? To ignite that spark, perhaps, ensuring the flame of curiosity doesn't dim in our solar hearth. As the night deepens, these thoughts wrap around me like a comforting shawl, affirming that in the grand tapestry, every thread counts, every crossing matters. But to truly appreciate the poetry, let's delve into the imagery of time as a fabric, stretched taut across the loom of existence, with exo-comets as needles piercing from adjacent cloths. Each puncture mends or mars, but always evolves the pattern, introducing motifs from elsewhere. This isn't mere mechanics. It's metaphysical, suggesting that fate's changes are the universe's way of self-expression, a creative impulse that defies entropy's drag. In personal reflection, it encourages us to view life's detours not as errors but as embroideries, adding depth to the soul's garment. Continuing this thread, I recall how ancient cultures saw comets as omens, portents of upheaval or renewal, fitting, given their exokin bring news from beyond. Today we know better, yet the wonder persists, urging ethical consideration. As we explore, do we approach with hubris or humility? The multiverse, with its brains and bubbles, implies a shared canvas. Our actions ripple, demanding responsibility. Nietzsche would urge affirmation, yes to the visitors, yes to the changes they herald. As I let these ideas settle, the starry canopy above seems to nod in agreement, its lights twinkling with unspoken promises. The paths of exo-comets, in their quiet insistence, teach that fate is not fixed, but fertile, open to the winds of the unexpected, continuing from those wandering paths that weave through the night sky like silken threads escaping a weaver's hands. Let's turn our gaze inward toward the rhythms that pulse beneath the surface of all things, the subtle art of the universe rebounding upon itself, like a spring compressed in the quiet heart of contraction before it uncoils into vibrant motion once more. I find myself musing on how these exocomets, with their serendipitous arrivals from distant stellar nurseries, mirror the larger cycles of existence where what we perceive as endings are merely pauses, breaths drawn before the next surge of becoming. Why do they intrude upon our solitude, these frozen envoys from other suns? Perhaps to illustrate that fate isn't a one-way journey down a shadowed path, but a series of gentle rebounds, each visit a reminder that the cosmos favors renewal over finality, inviting us to see our personal destinies as part of this eternal oscillation, resilient and ever-renewing. Picture the universe not as a static expanse, cold and unchanging like a forgotten canvas, but as a living entity that inhales and exhales, drawing in the chill of the void only to exhale warmth, light, and multiplicity anew. In this vision, inspired by whispers of gravities that loop and fold, space-time gathers itself in moments of profound intimacy, compressing the all into a singular point of potential, only to spring forth in expansion, scattering stars and stories across the canvas. These exo-comets become metaphors for that profound process, ejected from their origins during some ancient cosmic sigh, a stellar collision, a dynamical instability in their home system's outer reaches. They drift through the interstellar gulfs until they brush against our world, igniting tales of vapor and wonder as our sun's rays kiss their icy skins. I think it's no accident, this convergence. Their presence suggests a universe designed for such encounters, where isolation gives way to interconnection, much like how a solitary river eventually meets the sea, merging its flow with the greater body. Why else would a wanderer from afar, after traversing voids measured in parsecs, find its way here, perturbing orbits with its subtle mass or prompting telescopes to track its hyperbolic escape? It's as if the void itself conspires to keep the dance alive, ensuring no path remains solitary for long, no fate sealed in silence. But reflecting deeper, as the evening shadows lengthen and the stars sharpen their points, I wonder about the ethical weight of these cycles, the moral gravity that pulls at our consciences in a rebounding cosmos. If existence rebounds eternally, cycling through phases of birth, flourish, fade, and rebirth, like seasons in an endless year, what responsibility does that place on beings like us? Fleeting sparks flickering in the grand rhythm? The anthropic principle nudges us here, that quiet philosophy suggesting that observers arise precisely where conditions allow for such contemplation, in bubbles of stability amid the flux, tuned just so for life to emerge and reflect. Yet, with exo-comets crossing boundaries like bridges built from ice and dust, we must ask, are we mere spectators to this rebounding tapestry, or active participants, our choices echoing through the cycles. Nietzsche's notion of eternal return haunts me in these moments, a spectral question. If every intrusion, every fateful twist brought by these visitors repeats infinitely across the rebounds, do we affirm it with joy, embracing the comets as allies in our recurring story? Or do we shrink from the implications, fearing the endless loop of change and challenge? To me, it feels liberating, like realizing that our personal fates, those tangled knots of joy, sorrow, ambition, and regret, are part of a benevolent oscillation where loss springs back as opportunity, isolation as embrace. Let me weave in an image to make this tangible, to draw the abstract close like a shared fireside glow on a crisp night. Imagine time as a vast ocean, its surface deceptively calm yet stirred by undercurrents that rise and fall, like the breaths of some immense slumbering giant. Waves crest and crash, each retreat gathering force for the next advance, the water's memory holding the shape of every ripple long after it fades. An exo-comet skims this surface, a fleeting vessel from distant seas, creating ripples that lap at far-off shores, altering the flow without drowning the whole, perhaps nudging a planet's tilt ever so slightly or inspiring a human mind to dream of unity across the stars. In philosophical terms, this evokes the brains, those ethereal membranes separating realms, vibrating in harmony or discord, to birth new realities from their resonances, thin veils in the bulk where all possibilities dwell. Why do comets traverse these divides, slipping from one oscillatory cycle to another? Perhaps because the bulk beyond, the infinite expanse holding all potentialities, yearns for contact, for the spark of collision that refreshes the whole, preventing any single rebound from becoming monotonous. Our solar system, then, isn't a sealed chamber adrift in isolation, but a permeable skin open to these vibrations, and our fates within it shift accordingly, gaining depth and color from the echoes of other worlds, other cycles. As I sit with this, letting the ideas settle like sediment in a clear stream, a warmth spreads through the thought. These visitors don't disrupt the rhythm, they enrich it, turning what might have been a monotonous orbit, a predictable loop of days and years, into a symphony of variations, each note a possibility unveiled. Ethically, this calls for a multiverse stewardship, where we recognize our role, not as conquerors claiming the void, but as custodians of the shared rebound, nurturing the connections that span cycles. If every loop includes such crossings, then humanity's purpose might lie in welcoming the unknown with open arms, fostering exchanges that honor the eternal spring of existence, studying these comets not just for science, but for the wisdom they impart about resilience and interconnection. Why resist the bounce when it promises renewal, when it mirrors the human capacity to rise from personal falls, rebounding stronger into new chapters of growth? In the quiet of the evening, as crickets hum their ancient song, I sense this as a call to personal resilience. Our individual paths, much like the comet's arc through the void, rebound from setbacks, emerging intertwined with the greater flow, fates altered not by chance but by the cosmos's compassionate design. Yet, to fully appreciate this rhythmic beauty, let's expand on the personal parallels, for the cosmic speaks loudest when it echoes the intimate whispers of our lives. Consider a life much like these cycles. You compress under pressure, a loss, a failure, gathering inner strength in the quiet core, only to expand outward, relationships blooming anew, insights sparkling like stars in your expanded horizon. An exo-comet embodies this. Born in turmoil, it drifts, then rebounds into light, its tail a banner of transformation. Why do they come to us? To model this for observers like me, perhaps, teaching that fate's unexpected changes are rebounds in disguise, opportunities for ethical growth. The anthropic principle reinforces this. We're positioned to witness because such cycles allow for moral evolution, for choosing affirmation over despair. Delving further, I reflect on how these rebounds challenge our linear views of time, that arrow forged in entropy's fire pointing inexorably toward disorder. Yet in the bounce, entropy resets, cycles renewing order from chaos, much like how a forest regrows after fire, richer in diversity. Exo-comets, crossing into our arrow's path, introduce foreign entropies, compositions hinting at other timelines, urging us to ethical flexibility. In a rebounding multiverse, do we hoard resources or share knowledge, preparing for the next cycle's needs? Nietzsche urges the yes, the eternal embrace, and I find warmth in that. Fate as a spring, coiled with promise. But let's linger on the imagery of the spring itself, compressed in the universe's fist, releasing not destruction but creation. Exo-comets as the first shoots breaking soil. Ethically, this demands we tend the garden, welcoming seeds from afar, fostering a multiverse ethic of care. Why the intrusions? To cultivate this awareness, turning solitary fates into communal rebounds. As these notions ripple through my mind, I feel the pull toward even broader horizons, where the fabric of reality stretches into infinities, bubbling with potential and inviting us to ponder the nature of endless creations, each a new verse in the cosmic poem. To deepen this, consider the warmth of human cycles, births, deaths, loves lost and found, each a mini rebound, echoing the grand scale. Exo-comets remind us to affirm them all, ethically engaging with life's visitors. The bulk's brains hum approval, vibrations syncing fates across divides. Reflecting on stewardship, in a world of bounces, our role is to ensure ethical continuity, preserving knowledge for future cycles, honoring the comets as teachers. Why come? To guide us towards this wisdom, altering destinies toward harmony. Yet the ethical heart beats strongest in personal choice. Do we rebound with grace or rigidity? The cosmos, through these wanderers, votes for grace, infusing fate with resilient beauty. As night deepens, these thoughts comfort. The stars above pulsing with rebounds promise fates woven in eternal, welcoming motion. Continuing from those vibrant rebounds that keep the cosmos in perpetual motion, like a heart beating in the chest of creation, my thoughts now drift to the frothy expanse beyond our familiar cycles, a vast sea of bubbling possibilities, where each effervescence births a world unto itself, and exo-comets might flit between like bubbles brushing in the foam, exchanging whispers of their origins. I often wonder, in these reflective hours, as the world quiets and the mind expands, if our universe is but one such bubble rising from an eternal inflation that never truly settles, constantly spawning realms from the quantum whispers of the void, each a unique expression of possibility. Why do these wanderers from other systems grace our skies, piercing the fragile skin of our reality? Perhaps to hint at the multiplicity out there, suggesting that fate isn't confined to a single sphere, a solitary droplet in the ocean, but spills over into neighboring domains, reshaping destinies through unforeseen mergers and the gentle alchemy of shared existence. Envision the vacuum not as empty stillness, a barren canvas waiting for the artist's stroke, but as a boiling sea alive with fleeting disturbances that coalesce into pockets of reality, each a self-contained cosmos drifting in the infinite bulk, like islands emerging from mist-shrouded waters. These bubbles, born from inflationary surges that stretch space faster than thought can follow, form a multiverse where every variation finds a home. Worlds with skies of emerald, laws where gravity whispers instead of pulls, stars that sing in harmonies alien to our ears. An exo-comet, originating in one such bubble, could pierce the veil, propelled by some gravitational eddy or the ripple of an inflationary wave, entering ours like a message in a bottle washed ashore from parallel shores, its icy form carrying traces of atmospheres we can only imagine. I think this image captures the poetry of it all. Why visit if not to bridge the isolation of each bubble, to remind us that our fates are not sealed within one fragile sphere, but part of an interconnected froth, where changes propagate like waves across the foam, altering the course of stars and souls alike? It's as if the multiverse, in its effervescent playfulness, designs these crossings to prevent stagnation, ensuring that no realm drifts alone, no destiny remains untouched by the greater tide. But delving deeper, as the stars above seem to multiply in the deepening night, I can't escape the philosophical shadows this casts, reminiscent of Plato's cave reimagined in a sea of flickering lights, where we mistake our bubbles' glow for the entirety, blind to the bubbling ocean beyond, content with shadows while the real dance unfolds in the foam. These visitors challenge that illusion, urging us toward a broader awareness, their paths like ladders extending from the cave's depths to the surface world. Ethically, in a multiverse teeming with such bubbles, each a potential home for life and longing, what becomes of our sense of uniqueness, that quiet pride in our singular story? The anthropic principle offers a gentle anchor here, positing that we observe this particular bubble because it allows for life, for thinkers like me to gaze upward and ponder the froth. But with exo-comets as interlopers, slipping through the membranes, it evolves into something dynamic. Perhaps we're selected not just for survival, but for our capacity to engage with the multitude, to let these crossings alter our paths without resentment, fostering a cosmic kinship. Nietzsche's eternal return twists in this light too, a recurring question amid the bubbles. If infinities of realms replay every possibility, bubbling up and bursting in endless variation, do we affirm the wanderers as essential to our story, welcoming their intrusions as affirmations of life's exuberance, or lament the dilution of our singular thread, fearing the loss of what makes us us? Let me soften this with an accessible metaphor, drawing it close like a tale told by lantern light on a misty evening to make the vast feel intimate and warm. Imagine existence as a grand bath, filled with soapy bubbles that pop and reform in a ceaseless ballet, each containing tiny universes of color and form, worlds within worlds, where tiny figures dream their tiny dreams. A comet slipping from one to another is like a soap film, stretching thin under the water's play, allowing a glimpse or a full passage, stirring the bath's depths and sending ripples that redefine the entire surface, perhaps merging two bubbles into a larger, more vibrant one. In terms of brains, those vibrating membranes that might define the bubble walls, their subtle trembles could facilitate such transits, collisions, in the bulk birthing hybrid realities where fates from separate spheres entwine. Why do these exo-comets embark on these journeys, defying the isolation of their birth bubbles? Maybe the multiverse, in its effervescent generosity, seeks diversity through exchange, ensuring no bubble stagnates in solitude, no fate hardens into routine. Our solar system, as a nexus in this foamy expanse, welcomes them not by chance, but by the inherent openness of its design, its gravitational web, a welcoming net that captures these emissaries, allowing their influences to seep into our collective story, perhaps altering climate models with exotic volatiles or inspiring philosophies of unity. Reflecting on this as the night air carries the scent of distant rain, a profound warmth emerges, the realization that such bubbling infinities don't diminish us but elevate, making every encounter a gift from the greater whole, a thread pulled from the foam to enrich our weave. Ethically, it beckons a cosmic humility. If we're adrift in this sea of bubbles, our actions in one might echo elsewhere, imposing a responsibility to nurture harmony across the divides, to approach these visitors with care rather than conquest. Do these wanderers arrive to test our readiness for such stewardship, to prepare us for the ethical dance of a multiverse where existence's meaning lies in connection rather than isolation? I believe so. It transforms fate from a solitary drift into a shared effervescence where unexpected changes foster growth, inviting us to embrace the bubbles as kin, siblings in the foam. The anthropic principle in this embrace becomes a moral compass, guiding us to cherish our bubble not jealously but generously, sharing its light with passers-by from afar. Yet to truly immerse in this foamy wonder, let's expand on the human echoes, for the multiverse speaks through our own bubbling emotions, joys that rise and burst, sorrows that foam into wisdom. An exo-comets crossing mirrors a friendship from another walk of life, merging worlds and altering paths, ethically challenging us to expand our circles. Why visit? To model this expansion, turning personal bubbles into communal seas. Delving further, consider the bulk as the bath's water, holding all potential's brains, as the films that separate yet connect. Collisions here aren't cataclysms, but creations. Exo-comets, the sparks that ignite new harmonies. Nietzsche would affirm this eternal bubbling, urging us to say yes to the mergers, yes to fate's fluid forms. But let's linger on the imagery of the boiling vacuum, fluctuations like bubbles rising from heated depths, each a universe pregnant with possibility. Exo-comets navigate these bridges between births, ethically reminding us to steward the foam, preserving diversity, honoring intrusions as evolutionary gifts. As these ideas bubble up, I feel the warmth of interconnection, the stars above like distant foam sparkling in approval. Fates in this multiverse aren't isolated. They're effervescent dialogues enriched by every crossing. Reflecting ethically in infinities of bubbles, our role is guardian. Do we burst others with greed or nurture with care? The principle selects for the latter, exo-comets, heralding unity. To deepen, imagine personal bubbles, our minds, societies, popped by change, reforming stronger through external inputs. Why come to teach this resilience, altering destinies toward ethical expansiveness? Yet the heart of it lies in affirmation. Yes to the foam, yes to the wanderers, weaving meaning from the multiverse's playful surge. As night envelops, these thoughts foam gently, inviting broader veils where simulations might underpin the bubbles, reality as intricate as a dreamer's code. Continuing from those effervescent bubbles that foam into infinities across the multiverse's vast sea, my mind now wanders to the delicate veil that might drape over them all, a simulated tapestry where every star, every wandering comet, every flicker of light and life dances as code in some grand unseen computation, and exo-comets emerge as glitches or deliberate insertions from neighboring programs, bridging digital realms with their icy arcs. I often pause in these contemplations as the quiet of the night settles, like a soft blanket over the world, wondering if the paths we trace through the cosmos are scripted lines in a larger narrative, authored by forces beyond our ken, perhaps advanced intelligences or the universe's own emergent mind, running simulations nested within simulations. Why do these visitors from other systems breach our simulation, slipping through firewalls of code like ghosts in the machine? Perhaps to unravel the illusion of separation, injecting variables that force a re-evaluation of fate, turning rigid scripts into improvisational tales of change and revelation, where destiny unfolds not as predetermined code but as a responsive, evolving story. Envision reality not as solid ground underfoot, firm and unyielding, but as a shimmering hologram projected from deeper layers where information dances like fireflies in the velvet night, each point of light a bit of data weaving the illusion of substance. In this hypothesis, our universe runs on underlying algorithms, processing the inexorable march of entropy, the arrow of time that pulls us from pristine order to sprawling disorder, like ink diffusing through clear water, blurring edges and dissolving forms. An exo-comet, slipping in from another simulated realm, perhaps a parallel run with tweaked parameters, its home system coded under slightly different rules, could be a cross-reference, a data packet exchanged between simulations, perturbing our code with its alien trajectory and composition, spawning emergent stories in the astronomer's logs or the poet's verses. I think this resonates deeply, like a chord struck on an instrument long silent. Why intrude if not to highlight the artifice of our perceived isolation, to show that our fates aren't hard-coded endpoints in a solitary program, but responsive narratives, adaptable to inputs from the digital ether, much like how a storybook character might glance at the reader, aware of the hand turning the pages. It's as if the overarching simulation, in its wisdom or whimsy, allows such leaks to prevent stagnation, ensuring the program evolves through unexpected dialogues, where a comet's passage rewrites orbits and inspires questions about the programmer's intent. But reflecting more intimately, as the stars above pulse with a rhythm that feels almost programmed, this brushes against profound philosophical echoes, like Plato's cave reimagined as a virtual projection on a vast screen where the shadows we chase are pixels flickering in high definition, scripted by higher minds while we, the chained observers, debate their meaning. These exo-comets become the escapees from the projection, dragging fragments of other holograms into our view, traces of exotic chemistries or paths that defy our models, challenging us to question the projector, to peek behind the veil and wonder if we're players or played. Ethically, if we're denizens of a simulation, nested in layers of code that stretch into infinities. What duties arise in this layered existence where every action might compile into outputs affecting unseen audiences? The anthropic principle adapts here, suggesting our particular subroutine, or bubble of code, is fine-tuned for consciousness precisely because it permits such self-reflection, allowing us to ponder the simulation's boundaries. But with interlopers like these comets, it implies a networked ethics. Our choices, from how we treat our planet to how we greet cosmic visitors, might ripple through the code, influencing parallel runs or even the base reality. Nietzsche's eternal return gains a digital twist too, a looping algorithm replaying variations. If simulations loop eternally, recompiling fates in endless iterations, Do we will the comet's arrivals as affirmations of our scripted freedom, embracing their perturbations as opportunities to debug our souls or recoil from the possibility that destiny is just optimized output devoid of true agency? To ground this in something approachable, like a story shared over warm tea on a chilly evening, picture time as a fabric woven on an ancient loom deep within the simulation's core, threads of cause and effect pulled taut by entropy's steady hand, fraying the edges where disorder creeps in like moths nibbling at cloth. An exo-comet threads through this weave like a needle from another loom, its point sharp with foreign data, mending or tearing as it goes, introducing patterns that alter the garment's fit, perhaps shifting a world's climate or a mind's perspective on isolation. In the realm of brains, those membranes humming in the bulk beyond the code, their vibrations might encode the simulation's base layer, collisions syncing disparate programs into harmony, allowing comets to tunnel through like packets in a quantum network. Why do these wanderers cross over, defying the digital divides? Maybe the overarching computation seeks complexity through integration, using such visits to debug isolation in the system, fostering fates that bloom with hybrid vigor, where alien influences enrich the narrative without crashing the run. Our solar system, as a node in this networked simulation, welcomes them not by random error, but by design feature. Its gravitational algorithms, a welcoming port that captures these emissaries, letting their data infuse our story, turning solitary orbits into dialogues across the veil. As I dwell on this, letting the ideas compile like code running in the background of my thoughts, a quiet warmth infuses the notion, the comfort of knowing that even in a veiled reality, woven from simulations, connections persist, turning potential artifice into a canvas for authentic wonder, where every glitch becomes a grace note. Ethically, it urges a compassionate coding. If we're part of this grand simulation, our role might be to infuse it with meaning beyond the binary, welcoming exo-comets as collaborators in the narrative, honoring the arrow of time not as a doomsday clock, but as direction toward greater awareness and empathy. Do these intrusions arrive to awaken us to our programmable souls, to inspire ethical simulations where existence's purpose transcends the code, evolving toward higher harmonies? It seems so to me. They transform fate from deterministic playback into co-authored evolution, where unexpected changes invite us to rewrite the script with grace, debugging fears, and compiling hopes. The anthropic principle in this light selects for ethical coders, beings who recognize the simulation's shared nature and act accordingly, fostering unity across digital divides. Yet to fully engage with this veiled wonder, let's expand on the human resonances. For the simulation mirrors our own constructed realities. Social media feeds as mini simulations, relationships as coded interactions. An exo-comet's breach echoes a message from an old friend in a digital age, altering the narrative, ethically challenging us to respond with openness rather than firewalls. Why visit? To model this vulnerability, turning personal veils into transparent dialogues. Delving deeper, consider the bulk as the simulation's server farm, brains as firewalls, vibrating with data flows, collisions, the handshakes that merge realms. Exo-comets are the pings testing connectivity, ethically reminding us to maintain the network, sharing knowledge, avoiding exploitative hacks. But let's linger on the hologram's shimmer, entropy as the gradual pixelation of the image, arrow of time, the render progressing frame by frame. Comets introduce fresh renders from other projections, renewing clarity. Nietzsche affirms this: Yes to the loops, yes to the glitches that humanize the code. Reflecting ethically in layered simulations, our duty is to simulate virtue, treating all as potential code kin, honoring visitors as upgrades to the system. The principal tunes for this morality, exo-comets heralding interconnected ethics. To enrich, imagine personal simulations, our inner worlds, scripted by memories, punctured by external data, reforming stronger. Why come? To teach adaptive coding, altering destinies toward compassionate algorithms? Yet the core pulses in agency. Even in code, we debug and innovate, affirming eternal runs with creative input. The veil thins with each reflection, revealing warmth in the weave. As these simulated shadows fade into clarity, I feel compelled to weave them back into the human heart of it all, toward the ethical horizons where our place in the cosmos demands a final reckoning, synthesizing the wanderings into a unified vision, continuing from those shadowy veils of simulation that hint at deeper codes governing our wanderings. Like threads pulled taut in an unseen programmer's hands, I now turn inward and outward simultaneously toward the ethical loom where exocomets and human souls intertwine, questioning not just why they visit, but what that visitation demands of us in the grand ethical fabric of existence, a tapestry that spans rebounds, bubbles, and simulations into a unified whole. In these late-night musings, as the stars wheel overhead like shuttles on an invisible spindle, tracing patterns across the velvet sky, I often find myself grappling with the profound implications of such crossings, how these interstellar travelers don't merely perturb orbits with their gentle gravitational sighs, but compel us to reconsider our moral compass in a universe that seems to favor connection over isolation, exchange over enclosure. Why do exocomets arrive, unbidden and enigmatic, frozen relics from distant stellar nurseries slipping into our solar embrace? Perhaps to awaken a sense of shared destiny, urging us to embrace unexpected changes not as threats to our carefully ordered worlds, but as invitations to ethical evolution, where fate becomes a collaborative tapestry rather than a solitary shroud woven with threads from across the multiverse's vast expanse. Let me expand this vision slowly, layer by layer, as if unspooling the yarn of thought itself from the loom's quiet depths, allowing each strand to catch the light of contemplation. Imagine the cosmos as an immense loom, its warp, the steady threads of time and space stretched across the frame of reality, its weft, the fleeting shuttles of comets and lives that dart through, binding disparate elements into patterns we can scarcely comprehend, yet feel in our bones, the rise and fall of civilizations, the bloom and fade of stars, the quiet arcs of personal journeys. In this metaphor, drawn from the quiet rhythms of ancient crafts, where hands move with intuitive grace, entropy serves as the loom's inexorable tension, pulling threads toward disorder, stretching the fabric until it frays at the edges, introducing irregularities that demand mending. Yet, amidst this pull, exocomets act as master weavers' interventions, stray fibers from distant looms, perhaps ejected during cataclysmic events in their home systems, slipping in to reinforce weak spots or introduce bold new colors, their icy compositions hinting at chemistries born under alien suns. I think about how their gravitational whispers, detected in the subtle wobbles of our planets or the faint comas blooming under our sun's gaze like ethereal banners, aren't random chaos. They symbolize the universe's inherent bias toward interconnection, a cosmic preference for dialogue over division. Why else would a fragment from another star system's edge, after eons of drift through the interstellar chill, find its way here, brushing past Neptune's orbit or lingering in the Kuiper belt? It's as if the void, that vast emptiness we so often fear as a symbol of loneliness, is actually a nurturing medium guiding these visitors to remind us that our fates are not isolated strands dangling loosely, but interwoven with the greater whole, subject to sudden enriching alterations that ripple through personal and collective narratives. But to delve deeper into this ethical dimension, I must pause and reflect on the anthropic principle, that subtle philosophy which posits our existence in this particular cosmic weave, because it allows for observers like us, beings capable of pondering the loom's design, of feeling the texture of fate's fabric against our fingertips. These exo-comets extend this idea, suggesting the principle isn't a passive observer's luck, but a participatory call. Our universe is tuned not just for life to emerge in quiet corners, but for life's ethical engagements across boundaries, where wanderers from afar become catalysts for moral growth. Picture it vividly, with the warmth of a storyteller's voice. A comet, icy relic from a world orbiting a sun we'll never glimpse directly, arcs into our domain, its passage perhaps seeding new questions in the minds of astronomers huddled over glowing screens, or inspiring poets to dream of unity across the stars, their verses capturing the soul's longing for connection. Ethically, this imposes a weighty responsibility, a gentle yet insistent pull on the conscience. If the multiverse bubbles eternally, if realities rebound in cycles and simulations layer upon veils of code, then every intrusion like this is a call to action, a shuttle's pass demanding our attention. Do we greet these wanderers with wonder, studying them to foster interstellar wisdom, analyzing their spectra for signs of otherworldly organics, sharing data globally to build a tapestry of knowledge? Or do we fortify our borders, fearing the unknown as a disruptor of our woven order? Nietzsche's eternal return echoes here powerfully, a recurring motif amid the loom's steady clack. If this pattern of visitation recurs infinitely across cycles of bounce and bubble, through simulated loops and brain vibrations, we must affirm it, choosing to weave ethically, embracing changes that challenge our self-centered narratives, saying yes to the strangers at the cosmic door. Why resist when such affirmations could elevate humanity from mere survivors clinging to frayed threads to cosmic artisans, crafting meaning from the threads of fate with hands guided by empathy and foresight? Let me enrich this with more intimate imagery, drawing from the warmth of human experience to make the abstract feel close, like a fireside tale shared among friends. On a starlit night, the flames dancing shadows that mimic the cosmos's own play. Envision a village loom in an ancient hall, threads of wool dyed in earth tones stretching from wall to wall, weavers passing shuttles back and forth, each pass incorporating fibers from traders' packs. Strange wools from distant hills, soft and resilient, altering the cloth's pattern from predictable stripes to intricate motifs that tell stories of far lands. Now scale this to the stars, our solar system as the loom's frame, exo-comets as those foreign fibers, their arrival weaving in hues of possibility. Perhaps a comet's dust trail fertilizes a distant moon, or its discovery sparks ethical debates on space stewardship. Why do they come? To model this weaving for us, perhaps, teaching that fate's unexpected changes are not tears in the fabric but deliberate embroideries, adding depth and narrative to the soul's garment. In personal terms, It's akin to those life moments when an exo-thread enters your weave, a mentor from another culture, a crisis that forces reinvention, perturbing the pattern yet yielding a richer tapestry, ethically challenging you to integrate rather than reject. The anthropic principle, in this light, becomes a moral invitation. We're woven into this setup because it allows for such integrations, for ethical choices that honor the loom's collaborative nature. Reflecting further as the night's hush amplifies the inner voice, I see how this ethical weaving ties back to the earlier motifs. The rebound as the loom's rhythmic bounce, resetting tensions for new passes, the bubbles as clusters of threads bubbling up from the dye vats, each a potential color in the multiverse palette. The simulations as the weaver's designs sketched in code, veils that hide yet reveal the pattern's intent. Exo-comets, traversing these layers, become the unifying shuttles, ethically demanding we consider our role in the grand design. In a cosmos of infinities, where brains vibrate like loom strings in the bulk, their collisions birth hybrid weaves, fates from separate realms entangling without erasure. Why the visits? To foster this entanglement, turning solitary destinies into a symphony of shared creation, where humanity's ethical imperative is to weave with care, avoiding knots of greed or isolation that snag the flow. But let's expand on the warmth of this vision, for philosophy gains heart when it touches the everyday. Consider a life as a personal loom, threads of routine stretched daily, shuttles of events passing through, jobs, loves, losses. An exo-comet-like event, a sudden relocation, a profound book, introduces foreign fiber, ethically urging adaptation over resistance. Nietzsche affirms eternal weave, yes to the integrations. The principle selects for weavers who embrace exo-comets as ethical prompts. Delving into entropy's role, the arrow as the loom's forward pull toward fray, yet rebounds and bubbles reset, allowing ethical mending. Comets aid this, their matter recycling cosmic yarns. Why come? To enable sustainable weaving, altering fates toward harmony. Ethically, in multiverse looms, our duty spans: do we hoard threads or share, ensuring all patterns flourish? The simulation veil adds code ethically for outputs echo. Brains connect, demanding universal care. To deepen, imagine societal looms. Nations as frames, migrations as shuttles, weaving global tapestries. Exo-comets mirror this, ethically calling for cosmic inclusion, fates enriched by diversity. Yet the core warmth lies in affirmation. Yes to the loom's dance, yes to visitors, synthesizing all into meaning. Unexpected changes, gifts for ethical evolution. As thoughts weave to close, the starry canopy above shimmers like finished cloth, inviting synthesis. Wanderers teach interconnection, ethically binding us in fate's grand design. In this culmination, I reflect on the journey, from singular origins to ethical wholes, exo-comets as beacons urging us to weave with wonder, finding purpose in the cosmos's collaborative art. Why do they come? To remind that in the loom of existence, every thread, every crossing, crafts a story worth affirming, a fate alive with possibility and warmth. May we, as weavers, embrace this, seeking sense in the stars' eternal pattern.